Hello everyone. Welcome to 365 Days Live with New. I am actually coming to you in the morning. Right now I have some space in between family events, so I wanted to pop on and do my live. And today's live is going to be on the power of words. So I wanted to share this because last night I was having a conversation with my sister, and we were talking about what I've been studying, which is the gene keys. And I was telling her how I was interpreting the gene keys and the different frequencies of the gene keys. And she actually shared with me her definition of what she thinks it is. So for example, let me give you a specific example. So I was sharing with her that one of my gene keys, my grounding evolution gene key, is gene key 10, and the city frequency, which is the highest frequency, is being. And I told her that when I think about the frequency of being, I think about like doing nothing. Like there's nothing going on, you're doing nothing and nothing's happening. And that's how I viewed it, that's how I interpreted the word being. And she's like, oh, that's interesting, because I interpret it as being is just I'm being who I am naturally and just doing whatever I like to do and acting the way I want to act and just being authentically myself. And that's how I view being. And I was like, that is so correct. Like, it's so wild how words have their own connotation to it, depending on your perspective, depending on your experience with it, depending on the background you grew up, hearing about it in. And I just thought that was so amazing. Like, that's why I love talking to people. As someone with a split definition as well, it's always helpful for me to be in other people's energy. But I just thought that was so powerful. And I've always been a very a lover of words and a very intentional person with words. And that's not a surprise, because I do have in the throat center, I do have the gate of caution. I know that's a interesting name, but the gate of caution is basically I am very impactful with my voice specifically, and then the message I have to share. So, but there's also caution in what I say and how I say things, because I can be very impactful in that way. And so that's why it makes sense that words are very important to me, because I know the value of words and communication. And because when we think of a word, automatically our body has a feeling around it, right? A feeling of associating it with with everything up to this point in our life. So for me, being, I've associated it with doing nothing. Okay, so that's why when I thought of like, what, the highest frequency is to just be, like that sounds terrible to me, right? But when I view it from my sister's viewpoint of being means you are being authentically yourself, and no one and no circumstance can change your self-expression. And I love that. And so just the mere fact that the same word can have two totally different meaning for two people is so amazing. So that's what I want to bring your attention to, is like, sometimes we forget that other people don't think the way we think or have the same definition for the same word, because that always happens. Sorry for the dogs. That always happens with me and my fiance. Is like, his definition is not always, but a lot of times different than my definition of what a word means, or how we use a word. And so I just want to bring our attention to be intentional about our words, especially when you're communicating something very important to the people you love, or maybe you're having an important conversation, is to be mindful of, clarifying what they mean when they say this specific word, when they use this specific word, right? To clarify, just like, it just helps, right? It doesn't mean that you are going to take their word and assume it and run off with it, right? We want to have that clarity. We want to be on the same page, because the goal is to better the relationship, right? And I feel like these miscommunications, sometimes it's just a matter of misunderstanding the words that we use. And I think that's just such a core thing, for lack of a better word, such a core practice that we can utilize in order to have more harmonious, more productive, more loving and compassionate conversations with each other, when we can come from a place of curiosity and a place of desiring to understand the person that we're communicating with. And because I know a lot of times I come into a conversation with the desire to be understood, right? Versus going into a conversation for the desire to understand the other person. I think that's such a very subtle, it's a subtle shift, but it can make all the difference in the world. So yeah, that was what was on my mind, and I wanted to share that with you, just in case today you can take that little nugget and either contemplate it or become aware of the words that are being used around you, maybe in the words you use and you assume that other people know what you mean when they probably don't, right? All those little things, small, but they can add up, and they can make such big differences, because they have for me. So I'm loving all these studying of different words and of different definitions, and just talking to different people, because at least for me, I know that once I find and see a different perspective, I can then allow myself to change and shift and actually embody a new and associate that word with a new perspective, a new meaning, which is powerful, right? I want to associate it to a word that is, or associate it with a context that is going to be helpful for me, right? I always talk about things, systems, tools being helpful to you. Use them if they're helpful. Use them if they empower you. And that's really why and how I use human design, how I use all the personal growth things that I study. I use it because it empowers me and it's helpful for me. I don't use it to limit myself. I don't use it as an excuse. I use it to really, empower and help myself, help me become a better person, so that I can be a better person for my loved ones. So yeah, that is it for today's live. I hope you are having a beautiful day today. The weather is amazing, as there is sun, as you can see behind me. I'm going to take my mom and my sister to get some boba while my fiance and my brother play some game, and then we're gonna go take a walk with my grandma later today. She's waiting for us, and then we'll hang out probably at my parents' for just a little bit, and then we'll head back home. This weekend is a short weekend for Robert, because next weekend he's gonna take Friday off, so we can have an extra long weekend for Valentine's Day weekend. So yeah, all right, I will see you in tomorrow's live. All right, bye.